Good morning.
Good morning.
How's the real estate world?
How is the real estate world? That's always one of my favorite questions people ask me is what's going on in the real estate market? And my response is always to them, well, what are you looking for? Because are you talking about California? Are you talking about nationwide? Are you talking about rates, buyer, seller? It changes depending on what you're looking at.
Yeah, condos, homes, commercial properties, industrial. So when people say what's going on in the market, it's not just general. It's what specifically you're looking for.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm excited about?
What are you excited about?
I'm excited about our new hats. I'm excited about this new logo.
Why didn't I get a new hat?
Well, they're here. We can get them. I've had more people reach out to me, and I've been mailing them out. And they're like, hey, I want a hat. I want a hat. So for me, what's exciting for me in the real estate market is hats.
You're going to get more hats then.
But, a lot of things they're talking about is, hey, what's going on with foreclosures and short sales? And, they're back. Short sales are back. In fact, we've had a couple this year.
We've had a few short sales go on right now. And it's been challenging because, especially for if you have like a condo or if you have a newer built home and you're competing with a brand new built home, you're competing against a builder that are offering these buyers incentives, right? But you're having a short sale and you have to meet a minimum amount that the bank will allow it to sell for. So we're having to be really competitive out there right now.
Well, a lot of people don't understand what a short sale is. They think because you're short and I'm short that we sell their home, that's a short sale. But that's really not what a short sale is it?
No, it's not. God gave me many things, but height was not one of them.
Yes, me too. Me too. But yeah, a short sale basically to explain is that the seller owes more on the mortgage than the property's worth, and they're short of paying off the proceeds of the sale.
Correct. Yes. And so they have to basically negotiate paying down less on what they owe to the bank. And then if they have any, seconds, or if they have mechanics liens, things like that, those seconds, thirds, other liens are lucky if they even see a penny because it's all going to go, to the first in line, which is, the loan, the mortgage for the home. I have done some short sale processing. It is tough. You have to have a pre-approval letter, dated. It has to be good for, 30 days. And if it's not, you need a brand new one. You have to have the right bank statements and everything has to be clean. They need certain addendums. And so it's a lot and it's not a quick process, So if you think that you can get a short sale approval and do a short sale in 30 days, you're not. You're looking at a longer time frame than 30 days. I mean, 90 days? We had one that took us longer than that. 6 months?
A long time, yeah.
Yep.
But really, let's talk about what is all involved in a short sale process, because it's not automatic. They have to show that they have a distressed situation.
Correct.
They have to go to the lender and show, hey, I cannot afford to make these payments any longer. I'm in a duress situation. I've lost my job. I'm getting a divorce.
Correct.
My job got transferred. And you have to show a hardship, number one.
Yep. And
then you got to prepare all these documentation to the short sale. The short sale is their current existing lien holder. And it has to be approved. And they have to say, yeah, you have an actual hardship and you can't afford to make this mortgage payment anymore. And here's all my documentation. And then they want to see all the buyer's side documentation that they're going to qualify. And then you have to occupy the residence, because if you don't live in the residence, they won't approve it. And the lender won't approve repairs, and they won't pay for a home warranty. And so you have to know all these things. And a lot of agents aren't familiar with them because they weren't around in the market like I was in the 2000s, the 2008s, 10s, 11, when we were doing a ton of short sales. And it could take anywhere from 6 to 12 months.
Yeah.
So there are some benefits to the seller because they can live in that house and not make the payment. They're not making the payments while they're living there, waiting for the short sale approval. But the buyer has to wait a long time. And if the buyer gets impatient, they can then walk from the transaction and we got to start the whole thing over.
Correct. And, while I wasn't, unfortunately, in this market in 2008 because I was in elementary school at that time. While I wasn't in the market in 2008, I have talked to other processors and other people who have experienced the 2008 market versus now. And they have told me that the short sale process is a lot different and a lot more complex than 2008. It's harder to get approval. It's harder to get to Fannie Mae. It's harder to do the negotiations now. It's very, very complex.
Yeah, I don't think they're staffed up for it yet. I know when we were going through it, the short sale process, the banks and the mortgage lenders had to create these departments to handle them. And now those people, they've shut them down because they haven't had a lot of short sales, and now they're back.
Yeah.
And the same thing, and we were talking about foreclosures. I mean, foreclosures are up 21% nationwide.
Yep.
And we're seeing more and more foreclosures, and we haven't experienced them quite yet here in this marketplace. But we've had a lot of clients that are behind or missing their payments and are facing foreclosure.
Correct.
And so if you are facing a situation, what should you do?
Let's go back to why this happened and what you should do because of this. Why has this happened? Well, number one, obviously we know because of the economy. Number two, in October of last year, they calculated that that was the most amount of missed mortgage payments that took place since, I think, 2008 it was. So why were people missing those mortgage payments? Well, what has happened, give a few years before that? Well, people were buying homes, doing a 2-year buy program, buying the interest on the loan down, right? To pay a cheaper payment. Well, guess what? They thought they could refinance in 2 years and get a better rate when the rates dropped, but they didn't.
Yeah, they're all talking. What was it called? Buy the home, date the rate.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
And so
date the rate, right?
Yes, and so they had this rate that they were paying that was affordable for 2 years in hopes they could refinance. And now all of a sudden, here comes the 3rd or 4th year, and now the rate's gone up, and now they can't afford the payment, right?
Plus the cost of inflation, food,
job loss,
gas, and all that stuff. So we've had inflation.
Correct.
And then their payment still high, but now they're finding themselves, unable to make those payments. And so what I think a lot of people do is they wait. They don't address the situation.
Correct.
I mean, obviously, I'm certified in short sale and foreclosure. I'm certified in that. The first thing you really want to do is, contact your lender. Don't hide from the lender.
Correct.
They do have forbearance programs.
Yes.
They do have programs that might be able to help you out.
Loan modifications.
Loan modifications.
Yes,
So
very popular right now.
See what they're offering and what you can do first, number one. And then number two is you decide at one point in time you can no longer, do the modification. There's just, if you have no income and you don't have a job, it doesn't make a difference what they modify the payment to, because you don't have any money to make the payment.
Correct.
They may forbear for a few months while you're looking for a job. And this is real case stuff. We have a client right now that's both of them lost their job, and they had good jobs.
Oh yeah, they had great jobs, and now they're in a situation they can't afford the payment. They fell behind. They did a loan modification.
But the payment went up.
The payment went up significantly.
Well, they went from like $4,000 a month to like $7,000 a month.
Yes,
it doubled almost.
It went up significantly, and if you don't have, if you've lost your job, how are you able to afford that?
Yeah.
Right?
But they do have quite a bit of equity in this home. They were facing foreclosure, but they have this equity in their home. And so now we're trying to help them buy home cash, almost all cash.
Correct.
And then they don't have a mortgage payment. So they live in a big, big home, and we're trying to downsize to a small home so they can pay it all cash.
Correct.
But they're being diligent. They're handling it up front as opposed to just waiting. And then all of a sudden now, we're so deep into the foreclosure process, we're now in a bad position. We can't, sometimes in a divorce case, we can go to court and get that stopped.
That's
right. That's very important.
Very important.
And get that foreclosure stopped. But it's better if we do a short sale than a foreclosure.
100%. And that's something that I feel like a lot of sellers and even attorneys aren't necessarily aware of. That if there is a divorce client and the home has been ordered to be sold, by the courts, and the property is going into foreclosure, you can actually stop the foreclosure in the family law courts.
Yeah.
There's a civil code, which I'll have to reference, but there's a civil code where you can actually stop it.
A lot of attorneys don't know of that code, and they'll call us and they say, hey, this home's in foreclosure. We need you to list and sell it. And then we say, hey, we need you to go into court and have the judge order this, and then we have to take it even further. We have to get a hold of the bank and the trustee who's selling the property, and we literally have to sometimes drive to the courthouse steps at the date of the auction and hand it to the auctioneer and say, hey, we have a court order to stop this foreclosure sale, and that allows us to get in there short sale. Because sometimes we don't have to do short. They have equity. We've had clients that are facing foreclosure that have 100,000 or 200,000 in equity.
Correct.
And yet the house is going to foreclosure, and we want to protect that equity if we can.
Absolutely, yes.
And so that's really, really, really important.
Yeah.
So, foreclosures are up nationwide. We have not seen them as much here because one is that our values are still relatively stable. Some areas are declining, and in other areas where they can't sell the house because now they're upside down on it, they're stuck. So those areas that saw mass appreciation during the COVID period, we're talking areas like, Miami and Florida. Florida's getting hit exceptionally hard. Texas is getting hit exceptionally hard.
Oh, yeah.
Phoenix's market, now we're seeing it in Vegas. So it's coming our way. We are seeing a market correction. It's because interest rates are high. And why are interest rates are high? It's because of inflation. It's because of our national debt. It's because of the war with Iran, with the oil prices. Why? Because all that oil that runs those diesel trucks to deliver the goods, the trains, the boats, and all the airplane fuel, which doesn't run on diesel that I know of, airplane fuel is higher, and therefore the cost of goods are higher to the consumers.
100%. And that's honestly why a lot of buyers are hesitant to buy right now, is because they're worried about the interest rates, right? But little do they know, if you talk to a lender, talk to an agent, they have programs to where you can permanently buy down the rate with seller credit. So how does that work? You put in an offer, right? You ask the seller to credit you back $10,000, $20,000 at the close of escrow. Guess what? That helps for you to buy down that rate permanently. It's not adjustable, or it moves up and down like the 2-to-1 buy program we just talked about. It's a permanent buy down that helps you buy down so you get a cheaper mortgage payment. Not a lot of buyers know that, and it's something that's really beneficial. So that's why I always say, you're looking to buy a home, great. I will help you on finding your dream home, but let's talk to a lender first so we can look at numbers and how much you can afford, what you qualify for, and come up with something that makes financially sense for you at the end of the day.
So what you're telling me is that I can go purchase a home. I can have the seller credit me towards my closing costs, which allows me to buy my interest rate down to reduce my payment. So if I'm looking at a rate of, say, 6.75 or 7%, I can get money to buy that rate down maybe to like 5.5 or 6, which will reduce my payment.
That is correct. Absolutely. And if you are a first-time home buyer, FHA program, right, the seller can actually credit you a maximum of 6% of the purchase price towards your closing costs.
Okay, so 6%. So if
6%.
I'm looking at a $700,000, I can get 6%.
Yep.
And that's $42,000.
That's the max the seller can credit you, yes.
Yikes. All right. Well, that's a lot of money.
That is a lot of money, but that's what we come to the negotiations for. And that's why I've been seeing a lot of more buyers. We've even been seeing it to where they're starting to stack on top of the listed price on their purchase price. They're stacking extra money on top, right, to make up for those credits that they need for closing costs.
When you talk about stacking costs, I want to bring this up because I'm a real estate broker hat, right? I'll take that hat. And then I put my appraiser hat on, right? And so it has to appraise equal to or greater than the purchase price. As an agent and as an appraiser, when I'm writing offers, we're saying, hey, will this property appraise high enough to stack the cost on?
Correct.
Because if we stack it too high and the appraisal comes in short, now we got a problem. So we've got to make sure that the cost that the seller's paying, the appraisal is going to support that as well.
Correct. And I did have a transaction similar like that where it was a little iffy. There was definitely some wiggle room, and there was a possibility it wouldn't come in at appraised value, but I did my homework and I did my due diligence. And when I met the appraiser at the property, I'm like, hey, I know this area. I'm an expert in this area, and I can tell you exactly where those comps are and why those comps sold out this price, and literally did the homework. I even pulled the zoning for them, gave them the zoning information, gave them the minimum lot size, everything that they would need. I was like, here you go. Gave them the permits, the plans, everything, and did the homework for the appraiser. And guess what? It came in at value.
So that's important. So when we're talking to people in the general public knows, they need to know that they have options
Yes.
when they're looking or facing without what the monthly payment or being behind on their payments. Number one is don't hide from the public. I mean, the public. Don't hide from your lender. Mm-hmm. And, see what options they have. Call a knowledgeable real estate broker / advisor. Don't go to someone who just wants to sell your house. That's going to give you your options. I think one of the reasons a lot of the lawyers and the attorneys and the courts utilize me is because the number one thing is, what do they say always?
That they know, like, and trust you.
That they trust me. Mm-hmm. That I'm not just going to go sell a home just to sell a home. I'm going to try to keep you in your home if possible. And we'll exhaust all options until we have no other options and we have to sell your home.
Correct.
But don't wait till the last second, because if you show up the 5 days before your foreclosure, I may not be able to stop it. Mm-hmm. So the sooner you get the information, the sooner you talk to your lender, you have more options. If you wait to the last second and we're faced now with the foreclosure and weeks away, we're in trouble. And we may have to go to all cash buyer, stop get it done, but then you're going to lose a lot of money.
And you know what? You brought up something that I love, actually, that sets us apart from the others. Is we are not, yes, we are licensed real estate agents, but we are first foremost real estate advisors.
Yeah.
People come to you and I for help, for guidance. And like you said, if there's options for you to keep your home, we explore all those options for you and advise you. But if it comes down to it, you have someone that you can trust who's going to keep your best interest. We're keeping the client's
responsibility.
Fiduciary responsibility, yes. And that's something that definitely sets us apart.
The F word. Fiduciary.
Fiduciary. Yeah, yes. The good F word.
All right, let's shift gears here and talk about something else that we're seeing right now. And I want to bring up ADUs.
Okay.
What is an ADU? An accessory dwelling unit. Mm-hmm. The state has passed laws where they want more housing, and they're changing the zoning laws to allow more ADUs. There's different types of ADUs, right? There's a junior ADU. What is a junior ADU? That's basically a garage conversion. The garage exists. We're going to convert it into another little ADU. Then we have other ADUs that can be attached or detached. Mm-hmm. And so I'm seeing properties now where they're doing a junior ADU. They have the main house. Yep. They have a second ADU, the junior ADU, mm-hmm. right? That's the garage conversion. And then they're building a third unit on there. And sometimes we're even seeing 4 units on these properties. Mm-hmm. And I cannot believe how much rent they're getting out of these. And then they're building the ADUs and then flipping them. I've seen a lot in Riverside right now. It's big in there. We have one in Pomona that is turning into a nightmare transaction.
Well, they were doing a construction loan to build their ADU.
Right.
Yes.
And their contractor has we represent the seller. The buyer has a contractor that has a judgment against them, and they're not approving the construction loan, which is causing us a little bit of headaches.
Yes, but done right, it can be effective to help you get the loan to build the ADU so you can, move in your family, your sister, your mother-in-law, whoever into that unit, or just rent it out for income to help, pay down that mortgage payment,
Yeah.
So if you have 2 or 3 units, yes, and that almost covers your entire mortgage payment, perfect. That's an affordable way to be able to own a home.
I even have gone to my wife, Carlene, and said, hey, we can take this third garage and make an ADU out of it and do it. But she said no. Then I use the examples, of these income, and I show my kids, because I have a kid that, Cole, your brother, who's 19 years old.
We're related, in case you guys
And I'm
know.
like, brah, you know how much I can rent your room for? And he, but it seems to go in one ear and out the other ear, and I don't get any money.
Oh, he's a good kid. He's young. Yeah. He's only 18 years old. He's getting there. I mean, I remember when I was 18 years old. I think that wasn't fun. We won't talk about that on camera. But...
She's great now.
Thank you. But yes, ADUs and multiple unit, 2 to 4 unit housing is definitely been something that helps people get to the dream of ownership, multi-generation. That's something that I have a goal for as well too. I would love to buy land, lots of land, to where I can put multiple units on it, right?
Yeah.
And be able to take care of my family. I mean, we have our aunts, we have, my fiance's dad, we have so many people that I would love just to have an area and a space for us to all come to that we can stay, and I can take care of everybody.
Yeah. Come to think of it, the transaction that we just talked about, the one in Pomona, the seller of that actually bought the house across the street from me.
Yes.
Right. And they bought it because their mother's moving in there.
Correct.
And they are a multi-generation situation too.
Yes.
And we're seeing more and more. Then the house that they sold, they're building an ADU, and that's a multi-generation. So I didn't even put 2 and 2 together. And I'm like, wow, that's what's happening is with our aging population, right? And, the other day I told my sister, I think I'm going through a midlife crisis. And I turned 58, and this is a little while. And she's all, oh, honey, you're way past midlife. And it really hit me hard. Like, I'm like, oh, crap, she's right. Like, midlife, at 58, I'd be 116, right? And so, yeah, that doesn't work unless they come out with some new type of, medication I can take to make it to 100. But I don't know if I want to live to 116. I don't know what I look like by then. But anyhow. But what happens is the costs for to take care of your parent, to put them in a home, it's like $6,000 to $10,000 a month, as opposed to a situation where you can buy a home and have that individual live with you as long as they don't need some significant amount of care.
Correct. And there are certain care programs out there too. Like, I have friends who do care for, their parents because they're either disabled or they're elderly. And there's funding that they can receive to take care of their parents, to be the caregiver, or you can bring in, like how we did with Grandpa, bring in a caregiver part-time. So there's definitely lots of solutions and options for people out there versus, having to, parents being in a home. You can do the multi-generational living. You can either have someone bring in and care for them. There's lots of options. I just feel like a lot of people don't know where to go, who to talk to, or who to get advice from.
That same transaction that we're dealing with Pomona that we're having a problem with, that particular agent hasn't sold a home in probably over a year and is not very knowledgeable about their contracts, and is making the process very difficult and unpleasant transaction for not only for our seller, but for us as well, because we're dealing with somebody who, instead of is telling us the facts, what's actually happening with their loan,
Correct.
They're trying to not tell us what's going on, which is a bad thing. And I believe it's not a good thing to do that is that you've now lost trust with the seller. You've lost trust with us representing the seller, and we don't believe that buyer's agent anymore, what she says. In fact, we're having to do an end around her and go directly to the buyer's mortgage person to get answers, because now we don't have the trust and the confidence in what she's telling us to be the truth.
Correct. And I think we've said this multiple times before. The barriers of entry into real estate are extremely low. It is only 3 classes and you pass an exam, and then you're negotiating $1 million deals.
Yeah.
And, while I understand if you're not familiar or you don't understand a contract, we've all been there. We've all started somewhere before. But to not understand a contract and then try to put the blame elsewhere, and to not just take accountability and do what's right by your client and by the transaction, it can really, really, really hurt the transaction in a sense. And while, we're all doing our part trying to hold together the pieces, because there's a lot of different factors that are coming into play. Yeah. But at the end of the day, we have a fiduciary responsibility to our seller and their best interest. And we have to do what our clients advise us. And
I want to bring up another situation too that we're involved in right now that I think is really important when we're talking about taking care of parents and taking care of. So we have a transaction right now where we brought in by the probate court. This lady, she took care of both her parents. And she has a home. Her parents were in the home, and her father had passed. And then her mother had developed, dementia and had to go into assisted living. And she didn't have the money. So she went through the state of California, and the state of California took care of her and paid that bill. And now they're forcing her to sell that house. They're basically coming and say, hey, you owe us, because she's in probate, you can't keep this house that you were supposed to live in. She's on a fixed income on Social Security. And now the state of California is coming back to her and saying, hey, and to the probate court, she owes $200 and something thousand, and we want our money. And so now she's forced to sell her home, and we have to pay back the state of California. So here's a situation, and my heart really goes out to her, because here's a situation where she's lived in this home with her parents, has taken care of her mom and dad through their years, had to put her in a home. This was supposed to be her inheritance. And now the state of California is making her sell that home to cover those costs. She's really in a difficult position. She doesn't have enough money to pay cash for a house of the sale, but she doesn't really have enough income for rent either. And so it's a very difficult situation. And she even went to the probate hearing in the court and asked the court to either defer it or that she could stay in this home until she passes and stuff, but they denied her request. And so it's a really unfortunate situation. Some people don't want to spend the money maybe with an elder attorney or somebody who specializes in planning for elders. And they don't want to spend the money up front and get good advice and then come to find out that they have, that they're going to lose their home or what's going to happen. So again, I think the message that we're conveying is to not stick your head in the sand, to not wait, to get the advice now.
Take action.
And take action, because people don't want to deal with it. And then when they get it, then it's too late.
Correct.
So whether you're looking at missing your payments, duress situation, elderly situation, it's important to find the right people. And if you need an attorney or somebody, reach out to us and we can refer you to somebody, that we know, like, and trust.
Absolutely. 100% I agree. And there's actually something that I want to ask you about, because I don't fully understand it either. Explain to me the step up basis program. If you put on an heir or a trustee onto, a trust or onto to title, how does that affect, taxes when that person passes away?
Yeah. So first thing, I want to make sure you should always talk to your tax advisor or CPA first and get advice from them.
We're not a tax advisor.
Because each and every situation is unique and different. But there's basically 2 times in your life that the IRS or they don't tax you on.
Okay.
All right. And the 2 things that you basically get is the inheritance tax, right? And so what happens right now, it's $15 million. So you can inherit up to $15 million and pay no taxes, no income taxes, right? And what people do is they think that they want to either avoid probate or avoid the probate process. And it doesn't make a difference whether you have a will or you do have a will. If you don't have a living trust and that person passed, it has to go through the probate process. And so people think, oh, I'm going to avoid the probate process, and therefore I'm going to add my child onto my deed. I'm going to put them on with me. Well, what happens is that now they lose that stepped up basis. And what happens is at the time of that person's death, their parent's death, we do an appraisal. And that sets the new value for capital gains taxes. So let's just make it easy math. Parents bought the house for $100,000.
Okay.
Okay. Today's value is $1 million.
Sounds about right.
Right? Parent passes, right? We do an appraisal $1 million. And if you go to sell that house and it's worth $1 million, you don't pay any capital gains money on that tax. If you transfer that property to that person's name, it's now really like a gift. And now you don't get that stepped up basis. You're going to pay income tax, or not income taxes, but it is a form of income, capital gains taxes on that. And so what people do is they think they're going to avoid the probate by adding or titling that property, but now they left a lot of money in taxes on the problem. Number one is if you can have a living trust, but if you don't have a living trust, at least talk to them about having a will and some type of, power of attorney, to act if you're incapacitated, because God forbid you'll have to take care of me one day, maybe.
Already on the plan.
Right. So, one of the things, and I have a living trust for my family. That way, if or when I'm incapacitated, that there's a power of attorney that you can act on my behalf, right, for me and make decisions, and that's all done. Plus, on my passing, part of my proceeds, I'm giving a lot of information because I have a previous marriage, and and Carly, my current wife, which will hopefully be for death do us part, baby. But what I have to say is that part of my estate is going to go to you at my death before Carly, because if she marries Bullhunk, Sancho, right? Then after my passing,
she would never, by the way, she's a saint.
Right. That, and something happens to her, that Bullhunk don't get all the money, that it goes to my kids. Correct?
Yeah. Okay.
You hear that, Bullhunk?
Oh, okay, awesome. So obviously, I mean, we're not estate attorneys, we're not estate planner attorneys, we're not CPAs, but we have knowledge because you've been through the process, the experience. And so obviously, like you said, if you have questions, you have to speak to somebody who can give you the right advice and point you in the right direction.
I know that costs money. I get it costs money. But it's going to cost you a lot more money in the long run if you don't set it up right at the beginning.
Correct.
And so, again, don't wait. Everyone wants to wait because they don't want to deal with it. And if you don't deal with it now, it might come back and bite you in the end. So if you have any real estate related questions, appraisal questions, if you need a good tax person or a estate planning attorney or an elder attorney that specializes in elderly things to set up, reach out to us so we can connect you with the right people to help you have peace of mind at the end of the day. Right? It's all about peace of mind.
Yes.
And not being stressed out all the time.
Yep. And helping you solve your real estate challenges.
Yep. Awesome.